in a small town of Maple Grove, where the mundane seemed to blend into the supernatural, there lived a young woman named Wendy. She was just an ordinary employee at the local Wendy's, working the late shift often alone, surrounded by the familiar sounds of the fryer hissing, the monotonous chatter of customers, and the low hum of fluorescent lights flickering above. But the comfortable routine of her job was sharply contrasted by the dark shadows lurking in her past. Wendy had been shaken nearly every night by the unwelcome attention of her co-worker, Dylan. He had a way of lingering too close, his leering eyes and crude comments, pushing her to the brink of despair. And one night, after a particularly intense encounter where she had to fend off his advances, she cracked. In tears, she confided in Cadence, a friendly bartender from the nearby dive bar named the Crooked Antler. "I just want to escape, to find some peace," she lamented silently, wishing for a way to confront both her tormentor and the trauma that haunted her like a restless specter. As the clock ticked past midnight and the last of the customers trickled out of Wendy's, her heart raced at the thought of facing Dylan alone and gathering her remaining courage. She decided to head to the Crooked Antler in search of solace with Cadence. The dim streets leading there seemed cloaked in an unsettling stillness, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves, disturbed by an unseen creature passing by an old gas station. The atmosphere thickened. Whispers of the past seemed to echo off its peeling walls. Arriving at the bar, the vibrant buzzing of voices and laughter provided temporary reprieve from her thoughts. But as she took a seat, she noticed an uncomfortable energy lingering in the air. In one corner, a thin man swathed in an extravagant suit engaged in a heated argument with an oddly calm woman adorned in an old-fashioned dress. Their exchange, filled with sharp barbs and unsettling glares, sent a chill down Wendy's spine. Hesitantly, she approached the bar where Cadence greeted her with a warm smile. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, pouring Wendy a drink. As they spoke, shadows flitted around Wendy, the anxiety of her past creeping back to the forefront of her mind. Memories of her ancestral home in Ratnagiri surfaced, filled with whispers from her family's dark history, stories of loss, betrayal, and a curse that had shadowed generations. As the night dragged on, she found it hard to shake off the feeling of being watched. Suddenly, the tension in the room escalated when Dylan burst through the door. A reckless grin plastered on his face. The laughter turned to uneasy silence. "Look who we have here," he jeered, locking eyes with Wendy. Her heart raced. Every instinct urged her to flee. But before she could react, the mystical woman, the one who'd been arguing, stepped forward and appeared to cast an instinctual warning glare at Dylan. "You shouldn't be here," she spoke with an eerily soft, yet commanding voice. Dylan sneered, undeterred. He stepped toward Wendy, his demeanor shifting from cocky to predatory. Wendy felt her darkest fears materializing in front of her. The shadows, not just from the lights, but from the ghosts of her past, took head first. Cadence rushed to her side. Just as Dylan reached for her, the bar erupted into chaos as Cadence put herself in front of Wendy, and the well-dressed man quickly intervened, losing his temper and pushing Dylan back into a nearby table. A scuffle ensued, causing drinks to spill, glass to shatter, and the bar patrons moved in either to assist or flee in terror and the ensuing chaos. Wendy sensed a strange energy coursing through her veins emerge to confront the embodiment of her fears. "Enough," she shouted, surprising herself. "You think you can just bully and harass me? I'm not afraid of you anymore." Dylan managed to shake Cadence off, his demeanor shifting into something more sinister. "You shouldn't have come to this town. You don't know what's coming for you," he hissed. With that, shadows began to swirl ominously around him, echoing with a relentless hunger. Wendy quickly recognized that this was not only about her fury. Tales of her family's curse were intertwined with her life. Now, breathing heavily, she remembered hearing a story of her ancestors, a way to confront their spirits and end the curse that ensnared them. Fueled by desperation, she decided to take action. "I know what I need to do," she cried, fear mingling with resolve. With Cadence's hand on her shoulder for support, Wendy announced her plan as a ritual to break the family curse. But before she could explain, Dylan lunged towards her again. A crescendo of shouts filled the room as Wendy grabbed Cadence's hand and they bolted through the back exit, heading for the ominous Ratnagiri place, laden with the landscape of her nightmares and histories. The distance between them and the bar grew, but the shadows of Dylan loomed large behind them, seeming to whisper secrets of his power. And they sped through the dark woods, the moonlight barely cutting through the thick fog, shadows twisting and turning as if alive. Finally, reaching the ancestral home, Wendy paused at the threshold, memories flooding in. The house seemed to breathe, the weight of its past pressing against her chest. She remembered the family rituals, the chants and the sacred stones used to appease restless souls. With shaking hands, she pulled a tarnished silver locket from her pocket. The talisman of her bloodline. This held the key, the essence of her heritage. As Dylan's figure emerged from the trees and morphed by the dark power of the curse, Wendy quickly began the incantation she had memorized. The air thickened, swirling, shadows converging around her. "I call upon the spirits of my ancestors to bind you and set us free," she screamed. A howling wind enveloped the house as shadows took form. Whispers lashed out, revealing themselves as her family's long vanquished spirits, anger and pain mired in their eyes. They surged forward, but Wendy stood her ground, holding the locket high as she continued the chant. It resonated deep within her, breathing life into her anxious heart. "Your time is over, Dylan. You cannot harm me anymore." In that moment, with one final cry, shadows erupted from Dylan, their tormented cries blending with the howling wind. Wendy experienced an explosion of light, warmth enveloping her as the spirits converged, finally breaking the curse that had gripped her family. With a deafening roar, Dylan was consumed by the very shadows he created, swallowed into the darkness. As Wendy felt the shackles of her torment slip away, breathing heavily, she collapsed, but a sense of profound relief washed over her. The dawn broke, illuminating the ancestral home in warm light, revealing the cracks adorned with stories of survival. As the police arrived to investigate the strange occurrences that had happened that night, Wendy stood outside the house, grateful yet changed forever. She could still feel the pushed boundaries of her past, casting long shadows over everything. Though she would carry the scars and memories of her experiences, she also felt a new strength, the knowledge that she could reclaim her story and not let the specters of her past overshadow her future. As she left the bar that day, shadows still flickered behind her, hinting at the ongoing echoes of her anxiety and the spirits that watched over her. Wendy now walked with both fear and courage, armed with the knowledge that confronting darkness, whether it be due to the supernatural or those monsters among us,